Hey, you! Are you designing a survey? This short presentation is aimed at helping non-research folks to put together a great survey, and along the way, we'll enjoy some baby animal photos. Before we get started, remember that survey designs matter. Your work in the design phase will create high-quality data and avoid freakouts the night before your donor report is due. When in doubt, spend a few extra minutes thinking about your survey design. You'll thank us later. All right, let's get started with the RT's top 10 pieces of advice. Don't worry, we promise pictures of adorable animals too. Rule number 10, don't reinvent the wheel. Build off of existing surveys. This not only makes your life easier, but also improves data compatibility across multiple data sets. When in doubt, ask if we've done it before. Number 9, avoid double barrel questions. What are double barrel questions? Make sure that questions are only being asked about one topic. If you ask someone, "What do you think about migration?" you're only going to get responses about migration. But if you ask someone, "What do you think about migration and living in Europe?" you're asking someone two different things. Number 8, avoid overlapping responses. If response categories are not mutually exclusive, your data is not reliable. For example, if you ask someone, "Do you like Trump?" if the response options include both "no" and "he's a bad guy," you're going to have a hard time analyzing your data. Number 7, what's the analytical value? Surveys can quickly become inflated. It's easy to add extra questions. Good survey makers ensure that every question has a specific purpose that is directly linked to your research objectives. Don't ask an "if other" question unless you plan to do something with that other data. Always ask what your purpose is for asking a question. Number 6, skip logic is your friend. It takes almost no time to answer a yes or no question in the field. So you want to use these yes/no questions to direct your survey flow and reduce unnecessary questions. For example, instead of asking all potential migrants, "When do you plan to leave?" it's faster and will give you better data if you instead ask, "Do you plan to leave?" and then only ask the specific "When do you plan to leave?" question to those who answer yes. Number 5, to prompt or not to prompt? That is the question. Prompting the respondent means that they are told the answers and have to pick one of the answers that you say. Not prompting means that they have to come up with the answers themselves. For each question you ask, think carefully about, first, do you want your surveyor to have to read all of the response options? And second, will it bias your data to have the response options prompted? Number 4, filter questions are important. These are not just check-the-box questions. They are actual controls to make sure that your only successful surveys are with the target population. Failure to include good filter questions early on can result in big data quality problems later. Number 3, avoid jargon. The simpler the language that you use, the higher the enumerator understanding of those questions. This leads to easier translation and ultimately better data. So when in doubt, avoid saying complicated technical terms and instead simplify your language as much as possible. Number 2, be very wary of bias. Much like a bulldog walking towards a flower, it's very easy to phrase questions in a particular way to achieve a certain result. For example, there is a difference between asking, "What are your thoughts about migration?" and "Don't you agree that migration is a net positive?" The way that you ask your questions can create certain answers, so be very cautious in how you phrase your questions. And number 1, sampling is just as important, or even more important, than survey design. Sampling is just a fancy way of describing who you are actually talking to. Even a perfectly designed survey tool will fail to achieve its goal if the wrong people are responding. Spend a little bit less time making the survey perfect and a little bit more time ensuring that your sampling strategy is effectively implemented. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the RT's advice about survey design. Reach out to us on Skype, Rike, email, Facebook, AOL Instant Messenger, or Carrier Pigeon with any questions or concerns.